Hey everyone, my name is Jerry Zaidi, and I'm a law student at Cornell sharing my 2 cents on law, politics, and beyond. Welcome to my second video. Let's get into it. Now, most people think that becoming a lawyer is like what you see on TV: courtroom drama, constant arguing, and dramatic speeches in front of a judge. Now, the reality of becoming a lawyer is very different. And so today, I want to talk about the 5 biggest misconceptions of becoming a lawyer. And these are misconceptions that I've had from personal experience, as well as what people outside the field tend to assume about people pursuing law. So, the first misconception is that you have to be an extrovert to succeed in law. A lot of people think that lawyers are naturally outgoing, social, and naturally persuasive in conversations, and that's what they need to succeed in law. But that's not really true. See, a lot of lawyers are transactional lawyers, and transactional law largely requires working on deals, drafting contracts, and working with clients on business and regulatory issues. And so, as a result, it's not a role that requires being constantly in front of people or networking or constantly giving public speeches like you would expect a litigator. Instead, transactional law requires a lot of analytical skills, attention to detail, and careful writing. And that in that sense, it can be very inward facing. Even litigation, which is what people associate with courtroom drama, most litigators never go to trial. And the vast majority of litigation cases themselves always settle. And so for litigators, most of their work is also done behind the scenes at their desk, where they're drafting motions, thinking about arguments, or settling a case with their opposing counsel. And so that taken together means that the legal industry can be pretty inward facing as a whole. It doesn't necessarily require outward social skills, although social skills, or though being social, can be helpful, for instance, in trial experience as a litigator. But it's by no means a requirement to succeed in law. Misconception 2: lawyers can freely give legal advice to friends and family. This one surprises people. People think that once you become a lawyer, you can just answer free legal questions for your friends and family. But lawyers have to be very careful about giving legal advice. The issue is that even casual advice can look like an attorney-client relationship in the eyes of the law. So if your friend comes to you and asks a legal question and he reasonably relies on what you tell him, then if he suffers harm from it, he could sue you for legal malpractice. And so lawyers are very careful about who they give legal advice to, and especially people who they don't know. Misconception 3: BigLaw is the only successful path. If you spend any time on Reddit, you'll see posts like, "Should I drop out of my law school because I didn't get BigLaw?" A lot of people think you need to go into BigLaw to have a great legal career. And it's true that BigLaw has some benefits like amazing pay, great prestige, and specialized training. But it also has some trade-offs. You may have heard about draining hours, delayed responsibility, like early in your career, doing a lot of doc review, and it may be a practice area placement that you don't want. So BigLaw is not for everyone. But more importantly, what counts as success depends on your end goal. If you want to go into academia, public service, or start your own legal career, your own law firm, then a lot of paths will get you there. The point is, BigLaw is only one path to success, and there's a lot more paths to get there. Misconception 4: you need to go to a T14 law school. You may have heard the mentality T14 or bust, where people only apply to T14 law schools and feel they've failed if they don't get into one. And I can admit I was one of those people. I only applied to T14 law schools. But as I've learned, plenty of law schools outside the T14 have great outcomes. And I think this mentality comes from a belief that only T14 law schools reliably get you BigLaw, federal clerkships, and all the other good stuff. But the legal industry and law schools are far broader than just the T14. If you look at Fordham Law, for instance, it's ranked 42nd, but it sends almost half its students into BigLaw every year. Or U Alabama Law School, it's ranked 40th, but it ranks in the top 10 by Princeton Review in federal clerkship placements. The point is that T14s are only one great subset of law schools, but there's a much broader selection to choose from. Misconception 5, the last one, is that good grades automatically equals a great career. I think the assumption here is that good grades and good school automatically equals big law, and big law equals a great career. And that's a massive oversimplification, starting with the assumption that good grades and good school automatically equals big law. Big law hiring in 2026 is highly timing driven, with applications opening in students' 1L fall and spring semesters and looking mainly at their first semester of grades. That means that even law students with eventual great grades, especially late bloomers, may not get big law to start their careers. And more importantly, your success as a lawyer depends far more on your performance as a lawyer than on your law school grades. Just look at Johnny Cochran, one of the most famous trial lawyers in American history, who represented O.J. Simpson in those famous trials. His success hinged far more on his persuasion and his ability in the courtroom than on his law school grades, which were famously poor, and he didn't do big law or have any fancy clerkships. The point is that grades open doors, but they don't determine everything. So overall, becoming a lawyer is far less like what you see on TV and more like thinking, writing, and navigating through a structured professional system. If you want to see more videos on law, politics, and me thinking about the legal industry in real time, I'll be posting every week. See you next time.